Let's go.
Coming to you live from the safety suite, it's RHAP Has a Podcast, and now here's the bootleg Teletubby of podcasting. I am Rob Cesternino. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to our first Sunday night recap of Big Brother 22, Big Brother All-Stars. Very excited to have you back here with us to talk about everything that went on in tonight's episode, the live feeds, and beyond. Here with us on a late night. There was some PGA golf or something that made Big Brother on very late, but we're excited to talk about a regular episode of Big Brother with diary rooms and everything that came along with that. Happy to have you back here with us to talk about everything. Let's welcome in our panel for tonight. Of course, a man who many people have been watching live more than the people actually living in the Big Brother house. Here he is back again, the great Taran Armstrong. Taran, how are you?
Rob, it's been so long. And it feels so good to be back.
So good to be back here with Taran.
On the podcast.
Yes. Okay. Taran, it's a long weekend. You had live feed updates on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, a round table on Saturday night. You're back with us again here on Sunday. How are you holding up?
I'm doing great. Occasionally my voice is dying, but other than that, we're all good. I feel like I'm living in the house with them. I feel like I'm buddies with Kayser. It's great.
Yeah. Okay. It's what you always dreamed of.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this is great. A lot to get into here tonight. Of course, a woman who is joining us here for the first time in our Big Brother chat for the season proper. My second podcast of the day with this woman who joined us for hosting Game Night 2 on Rob and Akiva Need a Podcast. Of course, the great Kirsten MacInnis. Kirsten, how are you?
Hello, I'm doing so well, Rob. I'm so excited to get to break down an early season episode. I'm happy that everyone gets to see my really cool bar that I live in now, and I'm just so excited about so many things about this season.
For the podcast listeners, can you explain what a live-in bar is like? Is it like the safety suite?
Honestly, yeah, I come in here and there's buttons that I need to press when I want to make dubstep happen. I'm not going to make the dubstep happen for you guys. You haven't earned that privilege, but yeah, that's essentially what it is.
Okay. All right. Well, excited to talk about episode number 2 of the season here with you. And then one of our newcomers here from the class of 2020. Very excited to welcome in Matt Scott. Matt, how are you?
I'm great, and I'm glad to be in my own safety suite here. It feels really good to be talking about Big Brother, and I'm excited to be on my first recap.
Okay. Matt, I know you're a longtime RHAP listener. Could you tell the listeners at home a little bit about yourself?
Sure thing. So I am what I call a social impact project manager and storyteller. By day, I work with NASA. So shout out to Kayser for the shirt, or should I say Kayser for the shirt, the NASA shirt earlier. And I love to interview people about social impact, but also to talk about reality TV. And this is really special to me because I started on Big Brother 7, the first All-Star season. And so we're all coming full circle today in this season.
Okay. All right. Well, Nice to have you here with us to talk about everything from this episode, which I guess, for people that have been following the feeds and the news and Twitter pretty closely, not a ton of new information to come out here in this episode, but I think that we should go through it and, Taran, where you see fit, let's give color in a little bit more of the background around things for people who are just watching the TV show, because I'm sure that there's a lot of other information that we can provide for people who watched Wednesday night, came back in on Sunday, might be curious to know a little bit more of the background.
Yeah, it did seem like it was a pretty fast-paced episode. There was a lot that they could have put in here that was definitely left on the cutting room floor. So I think there's definitely room to fill in some of the gaps.
Okay. And it was a big night for the Sovereigns, for Janelle and Kayser. Kirsten, are you a big Janelle and Kayser fan?
I'm a very big Kayser fan. I
Not
love
so much
him.
Janelle.
Janelle is great and is an icon of the game. I just don't know how much new there is to see there. That's all.
Okay. Yeah. I've described her as the Boston Rob of this season, where basically we've seen her so many times. She's back. But it has at least been a long layoff for her. I kind of feel like that had Boston Rob not been on Island of the Idols, I feel like people would be more excited to have seen him on Winners at War.
I think that is absolutely true. And you know what? You've made a great point. What we really needed was last summer to have statues of Janelle and Kayser so that everyone could see them. They could have actually still been outside the house this year as everyone walked in. I think that would have really added something to season 22.
Matt, do you think that maybe some of the people that were snubbed from the All-Star season, maybe they could be a giant head for OTEV later on in the summer?
I think it's possible. I was expecting to see some people there in the safety suite, Paul in his Secret Service outfit, Vanessa DJing. So I'm keeping my hopes up that we'll see some people pop up.
Hopefully. There's a lot of room in that safety suite. Can we just, I know we're not there yet. Taran, where'd that room come from?
I mean, that's I believe that's where they had the like the crawl space in season 19 with the den of temptation or whatever it was. Or
do they just have a giant room that they don't use in the Big Brother house?
Yeah, I mean, there's like it's a big, it's a big place. We've been there. There's a lot of extra room.
Yeah,
there's a lot of extra room around there, and
why don't they use it?
Well,
they do use it sometimes.
Don't you want the players to have less room to avoid each other? Like you want them in a smaller space so they have to hang out.
I mean, was crazy to me, Matt, when we revealed like, oh yeah, we've got this whole other set that we just hardly ever use on Big Brother.
I know, and so empty. There weren't. I mean, and I get it's a pandemic, but it would have been nice to see some extras there partying. It didn't seem like a great night there in the safety suite.
Taran, if this wasn't this particular season during the pandemic, I would be like, oh, they must have taken them on a golf cart to somewhere else on the CBS lot. This isn't part of the house.
Well, I know they had the space with the hacker competition before that was somewhere like very, in the same sort of like area, but like, not a part of the house.
Mm-hmm.
So it was probably something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, and every time it got brought up, they said, we're turning off the feeds. You can't know about this.
Yeah, you could never know about that. All right, save that. Taran, make a list of all the things for the off-season interviews that we'll find out about where was the safety suite. It was very nice. Really nice safety suite.
It was safe from everything. Like very lots of space. It was great.
Yeah. Matt, what do you think they're going for there in the safety suite? Is that like an apartment? It's like a lonely person's apartment?
Honestly, it just seems like an empty club. Like I'm not really sure what's happening there, but I'm willing to explore and get to see it.
It's like a hotel lobby almost.
It did give me a little bit of those vibes. I was taking in the art of, but it seems like a lot of effort for a room that's probably not getting used too much beyond.
It was kind of a waste.
Yeah,
I don't know. All right, so we saw a couple of different relationships explained to us a little bit more in detail. We keyed in on Nicole and Davonne. I feel like, Taran, this conversation has come up a lot in the live feed discussion of Nicole talking to Davonne about how she will never forget what Davonne did for her. Here's what she said.
I'm not going to forget that. And I really, really want to make that up to her this season.
Let's file that clip away and see if Nicole ever forgets about that.
Yeah.
I don't.
This.
What do you think?
I think that Nicole remembers coming off of Big Brother 18 and remembers Davonne's fans. And so I think that she will never forget what Davonne's fans did to her after the season, and that she will do everything in her power to make sure that it doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Nicole's been taking Day's acting classes, her Shakespeare classes,
yes.
and that's kind of where that came from. Beautiful performance. Beautiful performance.
I feel like it's something that has been covered already, but it's so hollow that they've never had this conversation before. And then 4 years later in the Big Brother house, it's like, I will never forget what you did for me. You changed my life. I want to help you now. It's like, it doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Hey, maybe she'll do it. Maybe this season, Nicole Franzel will be the deciding vote in Davonne's win. So we're even.
I would love to see it.
Stand.
I would love to see it.
Look, I do believe that Franzel would cast a vote for Davonne in the final two. I do believe that. But I do not believe that she will jeopardize her own game in any meaningful way to protect Davonne. I think that's a bunch of baloney from Nicole Franzel.
Yeah.
Franzel is the kind of player who will do anything to win this game.
Yes. Kirsten, Davonne really wasn't having it either.
Yeah, Davonne, historically has had pretty good reads. Maybe her reads in the past few days have not been to her usual level, but in this case, I felt like that was dead on. And she said, you know what? I'm going to go with this, but I'm not going to forget what you did.
Matt, she told Franzel, pick a bed and go to sleep.
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, I think I love Slavon. I love how she's out here doing it. So I don't know. To me, I just want to say Day looked like she had the winners edit. If there was a winner edit for Big Brother.
Yes.
And
she got a
so
great
I'm
edit.
hoping that it's a self-fulfilling prophecy this season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that was foreshadowing to Nicole casting the final vote for Davonne.
Okay. Taran, they finally got the Have Not room open. They're so proud that they were talking about from the other night when they couldn't get the door open.
All right, then just stay in the hall for 7 days. I'm kidding.
Okay. They
Wasn't
finally
that so
got
funny,
it open.
guys? So funny. What a joke we played on the house guests, not allowing them to enter the door. Wasn't that such a planned thing, guys?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I'm kidding.
I'm kidding.
So funny.
Oh, you're not
I'm
listening.
kidding.
Okay.
I'm kidding.
All right. So we saw a little bit of some people bonding in the house. We saw David and Kayser have a bond. Thought that was interesting. Kirsten, I mean, this is really the only time we saw David tonight.
Yeah, there really, I guess, wasn't that much in how they were packaging everything to even show David. But what is kind of unfortunate for David in the situation is what stood out was just Kayser. Like, Kayser is such a diary room star, and it's so refreshing the way that he gives confessionals compared to what we've seen over the past few years, that it's like, yeah, it was a David and Kayser communication, but I have eyes only for Kayser.
Yeah, here's the thing about David so far is that was a great conversation. It's one of 3 conversations that David has on repeat on the feeds.
What are the other 2?
The other 2, one of them is, when I went on my season, I was out first, and and then I got back in there, and people saw that I was able to see things, and I feel like that's part of what the promise was. And then the third one is I really like to put mushrooms in my shake, optimize. I don't know if it does anything, but I do mushrooms, I do ashwagandha, a few other things, throw them in there. That's the third one, and it's.
I honestly,
like
that's what I want the more information about. I'm like, okay, should I be putting mushrooms in my shakes? Like, tell me more.
So many questions here.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, maybe at some point we'll explore David's mushroom usage in another podcast. Put that on the list of off-season topics, Taran.
Okay.
Okay. So we see Cody and Nicole. We established that relationship on the show. Matt, we saw a lot from Cody tonight, and that Cody, to me, I felt like overall, I thought Cody was very whiny throughout the episode. Like everything is like such a bother to him. Like where we saw Kayser like, oh, it's so great to be back. Cody is like, another day in the Big Brother house. Oh boy.
I think they probably called Paulie and Cody just happened to pick up and he had no choice but to show up clearly. So I do feel really bad that he has to be in the Big Brother house to compete for $500,000. But
I just feel like it would be so incredible if it was a situation where this Cody had to nominate like 5 or 6 people in the first week, and it would just be like, people named Cody have to nominate at least 1/3 of the house if they are the first HOH, and that just became like a new curse in the realm of Big Brother.
Taran, is it just me? Do you feel like that Cody feels like he's over it already?
Oh no, I don't think he's over it. This was always this is the Cody that we saw from Big Brother 16. Like, I think he just has like I think it's especially prominent on the episodes, even more so than on the feeds. That like the way that he talks in the diary room, the way that he talks about his game, it just kind of has that kind of like, it's almost like us criticizing a player that's doing really well. Where like he's really annoyed about the things that don't work out for him because he is so on top of things. And so it does and I think there's just a quality to his voice that is just like a little whiny.
Yeah, he had to announce, the safety suite and explain the rules, and realizes that that's going to be a problem for his HOH.
Well, that kind of sucks.
Okay, that sucks.
Relatable.
Yeah,
It does kind of suck.
Okay. Matt, we got to hear the explanation of the safety suite. People that have been following the live feeds know how it works. Do you like this twist here for these first 3 weeks where people have a chance to have a shot at safety?
Yeah, and so first and foremost, I liked the logo a lot. It reminds me of like a Barbie dream house setup. So I thought that was good on Big Brother. And it was, it'll be interesting to see in execution. I have some questions about both Janelle and Kayser choosing to go to the suite this week. But overall, I think it should be interesting to see people securing safety, even when the conversations are happening around who's going to go up. Throw a wrench in those plans.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of us thought that Janelle and Kayser both played because at first we kind of thought maybe Keesha was also going to play or maybe had played. And to see how they actually went to swipe their passes and that they did them at the exact same time at the last minute, that's where I'm like, okay.
Last second.
Because like it would make sense to me if maybe, Janelle had done it right at the start and maybe Kayser didn't know or didn't realize, or like one of them made a last minute decision, but both of them seemingly made a last minute decision based on what we were shown. And so now I'm like, well, you guys really did this wrong. Like, were they trying to hide that they're working together? Because obviously they were just going to give each other safety anyways. So like, why?
Yeah, this is a little bit confusing. So they knew that the winner of the competition would be able to grant safety to somebody else. They did know that, but they did not know how the competition would work. So Janelle was, I think, kind of under the assumption that you can go in there and if you fail, if you time out, then you don't get the safety. Nobody gets the safety if everybody times out. And so I think part of the decision for her was, okay, if Kayser thinks we need to do this, then we both need to go in there to make sure we have 2 shots at getting this thing. And so they went in, they played the competition. Kayser asked production, if we had both timed out, what would have happened? And they said, you would have gone to a tiebreaker and it would have been given to one of you. And that confused Janelle because Janelle was like, oh, I thought that if we both timed out, then nobody got it. And so she was still like thinking that Kayser might be wrong about this. Kayser said, don't tell anybody else that we know this, though, because we don't want anybody else to know that it's basically an auto win if you go in alone. So there was a little bit of confusion there. Ultimately, though, I really feel like this is a Caitlyn puzzle situation where you're not really realistically going to fail this competition. They want somebody to be safe. I really don't think that Janelle should have swiped after Kayser did. I think that she should have held on to her card, even if she did misunderstand how the thing worked.
I don't think Janelle could help herself. The way that I read it is that Janelle's such a gamer that she saw Kayser doing it, that she just had to go up there and tap her card because she wanted to win safety. That's Janelle. She's a gamer. And looking back at her history, and even at Big Brother 7, I mean, right out the gate, she was co-HoH, she won Veto, and I think I feel like that was part of what was there if we had to get inside of Janelle's head on that one.
We saw a couple different conversations that Cody was having with people who were contemplating going in to go and play in the safety suite. It seems like that this is something that, Taran, you've talked a lot about. Cody and Kayser do not seem to be on the same wavelength as people.
Yeah, Cody is he's a very, very social creature. He gets along with other people who are very social, who he can get along with really well. Kayser is a much more logical person. He likes to approach things in a sort of surgical way that is not very natural or social. It's like socially just sort of like consistent or whatever. So they just don't mesh very well. And it's a similar situation with Cody and Ian that he's pointed out. I like him, but like it just he's not able to connect as well because he approaches people from this very social point of view. And Kayser and Ian are both more logical people, and they like talking to people on that level. And so Kayser has been trying a lot, but and they get along, but they don't connect, and that's the problem.
Yeah. We've seen a little bit of tension there with Kayser, and he certainly had a good read on this, where he's able to go in and play in the safety suite in the first competition. Keesha, though, Matt, she seemed worried. Also, she does not play in the safety suite.
Yeah, Keesha had a really rough episode, and to borrow from Eric Stein, it was an oof situation, really high in the oofometer.
How many oofs? Yeah.
8 or 9. I don't even know how.
Oh my god!
Many.
I didn't even know it goes up that high.
Yeah,
I was gonna go for like a 4 oofer.
I didn't either. Look,
yeah,
it was rough.
Yeah, Kirsten, Keesha is certainly on the hot seat. We're gonna see her nominated in this episode. She did not get a lot of story here in through 2 episodes.
Yeah, really, all that they showed us tonight was her being worried, talking about how she hasn't really communicated with Cody, and that makes her more worried, and oh, Cody's not talking to me. And that's one of my absolute biggest pet peeves, is when people are like, oh, the HoH isn't talking to me. Well, go talk to the HoH. You have that power. Like, go upstairs, see what's going on, give that a try. Obviously, always more to the story, but they really they did Keesha dirty in this episode, because that's all they showed of her.
Yeah, and just to kind of build on that, we saw 2 conversations with Keesha. We saw her conversation with Kayser and her conversation with Janelle, and both of them clearly knew the right thing to do was to go talk to Cody. But just as they were kind of realizing that, they decided to back off and say, "Oh, I don't know, I'd be confused too, Keesha." And we have Keesha, who's the one person who doesn't go talk with Cody, which was pretty disappointing.
Taran, did Keesha actually talk to Cody at some point?
She had talked to Cody, and it seemed like a lot of people went up and talked to Cody in the time that the feeds were down during the safety suite thing. I think that she probably talked to him during that time. I think I remember her talking about doing that. But of course, they're not going to, I think, show it because she doesn't end up competing. And also, it feels like, there's now 2 people on the block. I think that they would like us to be rooting for Kevin here. And I imagine that a lot of the casual audience don't remember either of them all that much. So I think that's why they're kind of like, hey, look over here. Don't be too sad if anything else happens.
Well, and the one thing that this really brought up for me is, obviously, normally we don't get the premiere until they have been living in the house for a couple of days. We don't normally get night one feeds, night one move-in. And I love that we're getting feeds right from the start. And I love that we're getting to see all this. But I almost feel like I wish this first HOH was still going to run longer and that the first few episodes would be more of a setup and actually getting us reacquainted with the characters that are back, and giving the players more time to kind of get into the game rather than, no, it's you're moving in Wednesday, there's going to be an eviction next Thursday, and that's that. I feel like it would be nice if the first HOH was still a longer reign.
Well, it's still better than what it normally is.
Oh, yes,
We did not
100%.
have a night one eviction. We did not have a night two eviction. We're still having a day 8 eviction coming up for this season. So we can't complain too much.
Yeah, I'm not trying to complain. I'm just
In a
saying that would be like
perfect
a
world.
preference.
Yeah.
And I think importantly, I think the way this episode portrayed it, you probably would come away from this episode thinking, Keesha never talked to Cody. Why wouldn't she do that? Obviously she's going to be nominated, which I think happens every season, that like they really like to portray it as like the person that goes up on the block. They never talked to the HOH. What were they thinking? They didn't know, Cody didn't know who Keesha was. But we do know that she did talk to the HOH. They just didn't show it. And it reminds me of a certain person last season where this was a thing. So yeah, good to know.
Okay. We go to the safety suite competition where Kayser and Janelle are going to play.
Access granted.
Okay. They go in. Matt, how riveting was it to see DJ Kayser and DJ Janelle remix Twinkle Twinkle Little Star?
I thought I knew what the song of the summer was, but this might be it. Honestly, I was dancing in my chair a lot to this one because there's a lot going on. Didn't follow it, all of the button presses and all, but pretty impressive. I could still dance to it, so that's what matters, right? Yeah.
Yes. Kirsten, what do you think about this for the next round of Win, Lose, or Ska?
Do we think we can get Wolf from America to do a cover with a bunch of horns like right now? Because we could maybe edit it into the podcast from earlier today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It could happen.
Okay. Taran, good TV or bad TV?
Terrible TV. I mean, what was this? I don't understand.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be like Electronic Simon of type in the red button, green button, blue button, yellow.
At least then I could have tried to play along. I wouldn't have, but like I could have if I had wanted to. But I was just pressing random buttons, it felt like, and they were literally pointing an arrow at what they were supposed to press. I was like, okay, but they didn't press that one. Oh, this time he did press this one. Great.
And like, it was hard
to the tune of Twinkle Twinkle Little Star.
And it was hard even to distinguish some of the sounds that the different parts were making. Like, it's all dubstep. I don't know.
But guys, it's all stars. Get it? Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. They're all stars.
Of course. Oh my god.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I've said this many times before, but like, give me duck ball. Like, give me them throwing rubber duckies into a bucket.
Throw the CDs in the pool again.
Yes, like that is easier and more fun to watch than this elaborate setup that requires an entirely different building. That would probably cost a lot of money and took a lot of time for them to delay the season in order to figure out how to do.
Mm-hmm. Okay. We'll see where we go next Sunday with the next safety suite comp. So, Matt, we have the one person wins, and then they get to use their power on a +1. And then, hey, wouldn't this be a great spot to put people in costumes? If you get saved with the +1, you're wearing a costume. You're punished. Okay. Yeah. So, nothing more hilarious. Nothing more than we want to see. Put Janelle in the star jumper.
Yeah, I felt like it was a little bit on the nose. You know, we already know what her legacy is and her history is with Big Brother, but we didn't actually need Janelle in the star costume. I don't mind it, and it fit her well and everything. And she loves the color yellow, but I don't know. I don't know about the costume personally.
Taran, was this like a deep-rooted Super Mario joke where Janelle is invincible this week?
That is so good.
Well, then that makes sense with David talking about putting the mushrooms in his shakes too.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. Memphis also had some mushroom talk, so I feel like we're on to something.
Yeah. Okay.
You had that ready?
Yes. I'm always prepared, Taran. But Enzo maybe had the line of the night talking about Janelle's costume.
Yo, this girl looks like a bootleg Teletubby right now.
Kirsten, are you familiar with the Teletubbies? Because I don't think she really did look like a bootleg Teletubby.
Yeah, I was gonna say I actually tweeted out earlier tonight. Has Enzo ever seen the Teletubbies? Because I don't think that's what a Teletubby looks like.
Well, that's why it's bootleg.
Well, I mean, maybe he's seen like someone in a scary Teletubby costume in like Times Square or something, and so he just thinks that's what the Teletubbies look like now.
So he's like bootleg of a bootleg.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So we have Kayser and Janelle safe. Huge moment if you are a fan of Kayser and Janelle going way back. Kayser punctuates it in the diary room.
If you mess with the bull, you always get the horns.
Yes. Get the horns.
He's gonna teach these kids a lesson.
Mm-hmm.
King Kayser.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And Cody, again, really not happy with the turn of events on his HoH week.
Of course, Kayser wins and picks Janelle to be safe for the week. Of course that happens when these are two people that I'm starting to feel like maybe they could be my nominations.
It just
now
sucks.
I have to go in and reevaluate and pick two new nominees. My decision is going to be even more difficult.
Oh.
Hold on. Is Cody doing an impression of me every time a twist happens on the show?
Wait, I thought you liked this twist.
Of course they have a dumb competition.
So maybe we should stand Cody now? Is this where we're getting to?
I don't think that was the takeaway I had.
Yeah. Well.
Now he has to go and reevaluate.
Oh, I have to reevaluate.
Like, is evaluating that much work?
Yeah,
I just like to
he got
like
over it very quickly. Like he was like, I get it. Like it's fine. I would have done the same thing.
I feel like the way that they showed him through the DRs in this episode was just so much of, yeah, and I think that these people might possibly be good people that I could maybe nominate. And so then when it comes to Janelle and Kayser being safe, he's like, these are people I thought I could maybe nominate, and now I can't. And it's like, okay, like whatever.
Yeah. Cody has to scramble quickly and come up with two nominees. We see him run this past Franzel, Matt, that they come up with Keesha and Kevin being the people that Cody could safely nominate.
Yeah, he's probably never heard of either of them, so it makes a lot of sense that he did that. But it feels like a dagger to the heart watching both of them go up because I love them so much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It does seem though, Taran, that Cody does seem to have very selective knowledge about certain things. Like he doesn't know anything about Kevin or Keesha, but seemed to have a lot of background on Kayser and Janelle.
Yes. Well, so he has seen Kayser and Janelle's seasons. He did not watch season 10, but he does know. He doesn't really know about Memphis. He knows about Memphis. He's like, Memphis is a straight up guy. He was like a loyal player. That's what I've heard about Memphis. I wonder where he heard that from. And he does not know anything about Keesha. He didn't watch season 10. So that's that knowledge gap. I don't think he watched much of season 11 either. So he didn't really know much about Kevin either, but he did know about Janelle and Kayser.
Yeah. Kirsten. So we didn't really see a conversation between Cody and Keesha, but Kevin seemed like he was reading the tea leaves, that he was going to potentially go up on the block. And he had a emotional conversation with Cody in the storage room and tried to tell Cody just how great Cody is.
You're so perfect. You're so kind and nice.
Such perfect.
This is, how I feel being on this podcast. I'm like, guys, I don't know why I'm here. Like, you're also kind of nice, and I'm just like an awkward potato, and I don't even know why I'm here. Don't pull me out.
Look, Kirsten, it's not your fault. I mean, we are still going to kick you off the podcast.
Damn it.
Look, don't feel bad about it.
We're just gonna talk about contemplate reevaluate kicking you off. But don't worry, it's not gonna be you.
Oh no.
It's not gonna be you.
Oh God.
Okay. That was Cody's reaction to that.
Oh, well, I mean, I feel like I would be so uncomfortable in that moment, just as someone who, has destroyed all emotions inside myself. If someone came to me crying about me being so great, I'd be like, I gotta go. Like, I'm sorry, I gotta go. I can't do this.
Yeah, that one really got to Cody for some reason. I feel like with Janelle and Kayser, it's just like, oh, okay, like yada yada yada, keep going. But with Kevin, there was something there that really struck a chord with him. And I don't know if I fully understand it.
He's very lovable, this Kevin. He's
Yeah.
like, and I don't remember him being this lovable. I mean, he was great on 11. Like, he was like a lovable firecracker. But like, he is a lovable puppy this season so far. And I feel like that's a different look for Kevin. And but it's very effective. Like, a lot of people really like Kevin in the house.
Yeah, Kevin is incredible. I watched the premiere with my older sister, and she watched, and as he was coming on, she said, I think I like this man, and looked at me like, do we like this man? And I said, we love this man.
We do. We stand Kevin.
Man. We stand Kevin. Kev stands.
Matt, do you feel like, was Kevin laying it on with Cody, or do you think that he was speaking from the heart?
I think he was speaking from the heart, because I could picture standing there with Cody and you're literally just looking, you're like, you are so perfect. You're the greatest human being ever. You're so athletic. You're so attractive. You're everything. I don't know what to do. I would be really overwhelmed. And even just thinking about it now, I'm getting overwhelmed. And so I really felt for Kevin in that moment.
Yeah, he was, and this could have also been playing, but it didn't seem like it. He was telling other people similar things, like his closest people in the house. He was like, I do really like Cody. He's such a nice guy.
Mm-hmm. Probably.
He's so charismatic.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll take it.
All right, so we are going to get ready for the nominations. Could we stop down for a second and just talk about Tyler's glasses this season? Do we have a second to talk about that?
Of course. What do you want to say about them?
Safety goggles. Is anybody else talking about this? No? I'll move on.
Yeah.
I didn't really notice that much, but now I'm like, okay, I gotta look this up.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's a look. The hair, the glasses. It's a look.
It's a look.
Oh yeah, no, those are bad. That's really bad.
Like, I'm not like a fashion expert. It feels like it's like 80s to me. Is that right?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I feel like glasses fashion right now, there is a lot of kind of retro influence. Like, you'll see someone wearing glasses and you'll be like, I think I saw Jeffrey Dahmer wearing those in his mugshot. But then the person looks really cool and you're like, I guess that's cool now. I don't know.
I'll say this, Matt, about the glasses. Interesting.
You know what? I might say questionable, but
okay. All right. Let's go to the nominations. Taran, I was getting hyped up that we had some sort of a new nomination mechanism this season.
Right. I was like waiting for it. I swear they were talking about something, but maybe some of the people who have never experienced it were talking about the new thing. Maybe that's what it was, because it wasn't like they weren't talking about a key wheel necessarily, but it felt like they were talking about like, oh, it's a new thing. But it must have been misinterpreted.
Yeah. Taran, I thought you had a really great observation on one of the updates over the weekend of that, everybody's always clamoring for the key to come back and that the key's not that great, but that you have one major issue with the way that they do the nominations right now.
Yeah. I don't like, it's so awkward. My first nominee is...
Oh my God.
And Taran has turned his head slightly to the side.
My second nominee is...
Yeah. Yeah. So, Taran, you pitched they should just say it.
Yes.
Matt, what do you think about some sort of like Vanna White action where they should go to the touch screen and then have to reveal the faces?
I think there's
with a little bing.
Yeah,
Wait,
well,
but then would they turn fully away? Would it be like my first nominee is?
Yeah, that's fine.
My second nominee is they walk 10 feet down and then they.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
There's a ton of potential there, but it maybe to like scramble the names. You see different faces popping up could be fun. Mix it up, Big Brother. That'd be a lot of fun. I like these ideas.
What about something like, Kirsten, like an art unveiling where there's like a picture on an easel and then you pull like the curtain off on top of the easel to reveal the face that's been nominated?
I think you're onto something. I think that is exactly what they should be doing. I think even in a double eviction, they should be able to find time for this. That's it till the end of time.
Yeah, I mean, we're thinking outside the box here, coming up with some stuff that, this is costing like maybe $100 to, improve some of these ideas.
What about like they get 2 water balloons and they just walk around the table just waiting like and
then you pop the balloon on the person you want to nominate?
Yeah.
Boy, that's really adding insult to injury. I love it.
My
We'll get
first
really
nominee
mad.
is
throw water balloon. Okay, but what if every house guest is assigned like a color of glitter and then they do it like a gender reveal party where you have to pop the balloon and that glitter comes out and you're like, it's gold. It's Janelle.
Yeah, they would like that because then they could do the confessional where it's like, I was so excited when I found out that I wasn't going to be I'm nominated.
Yeah, sadder than Keesha's birthday. It's really intense.
Well, and speaking of, they could also do it with different colored cake.
Cake, okay. Look, it's a long summer. We can come up with something new every week to really spice up the Sunday night show. All right. So ultimately, Kirsten Cody's gonna say it's not personal, Just that's what it had to be.
What else? What else can you say? He had a really tough week. He had to reevaluate. He had to plan. He had to make new plans. It was really hard for him. And we're just lucky he made a decision at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Matt, overall, how do you think Cody did with these noms?
You know what? It all made sense. It's hard to watch, but I don't really know how he could have done much better with all of this. So it's tough.
Like for him, not for us.
For him, because for us, I don't want to name names. I don't want to have any Christmas stands coming for me, but I really felt like with that $5,000, there might be something there. But
speaking of Christmas, this might be fun to keep track of. Should we update the purple rankings for the season so far? I mean, we're 3 hours into the season. Taran, did Christmas even was she even shown on camera tonight?
I don't recall any bells, so probably not.
Yeah, I don't think so.
No. Okay. So I think she's the leader in the clubhouse. Kirsten, who's second?
Oh my God. See, that's hard because you're ranking who hasn't been there.
Yeah, who have we not seen?
I feel like we've seen shockingly little Ian on the actual show.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I feel like Enzo is not that much.
He had a line tonight.
Did you catch much of Bailey?
Oh, Bailey, yeah.
Not
Bailey
much.
has hardly been on at all.
I think she had a line tonight where she explained, they gave her the explaining how the competition was going to work.
That doesn't count.
Yeah.
Well, and that's all we
they're throwing
saw,
her
right?
a bone. Yeah.
So it's like one diary room from her. Well, that's the same as what we got one diary room from Enzo about the Teletubby thing.
At least that was a good line.
Memphis wasn't in this episode at all, was
He
he?
had a conversation with Cody. We saw
Yeah.
Memphis and Cody having a strategic conversation.
I blocked that out. Sorry.
All right. So we'll keep an eye on that. But if they don't want to show Christmas, that's okay. Fine with that. Okay.
What do you want to kill Christmas?
There's a war on Christmas, okay?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not even a huge fan of the regular Christmas, let alone the Big Brother contestant. Yeah. I mean, there's some people that are like, hey, I love Christmas so much. I don't even care. I'll stand Christmas happy because I love the holiday. I'm the opposite.
Yeah.
Like, oh, Christmas. Ugh.
Yeah.
There's a person named Christmas. Even worse.
Oh,
I don't know
no.
why, but like every time I think about Christmas on the edited show, I'm waiting for the sound of a train because I'm like thinking of Becky.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you
it's
might be
because
the
she
only
gets the
one.
jingle bells.
The only
she
one
gets the
thinking of
jingle bells
Becky.
and Becky got the train, and so like I'm always
Mhm.
waiting for it.
Yeah. I mean, they both did have very debilitating injuries.
Right?
One
I
in the
feel like
house,
there's a
one-
lot of
yeah.
connections here.
A lot of connections. Matt, anything else from the Sunday night episode you want to touch on?
You know, there was a lot. I'll say I'm interested in seeing what happens with Cody and these different alliances. We saw so many different connections, and I know that there's a lot to come. We saw a lot in the feeds for those who are watching, but I'm not really sure what's gonna hold at this point. Even through all of the alliances that seem to be forming that we haven't quite seen yet on the show.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, Taran, that is only that we have seen through the action on Friday was when the nominations happened. So through 2 episodes of the show, we still only seen 3 days in the house, which I guess is probably not too dissimilar from what we would see maybe in a regular season. But there's a lot, I think, that gets lost in a normal first week where that basically they have the veto and then they sort of like jump ahead from that Thursday. And then we have sort of like a big time jump in what's going on in the show versus the episodes. This is really a very unique situation that we are going through that I think bears repeating for people of how different the schedule is for Big Brother 22 versus a traditional Big Brother season.
Yeah, I think that it was a relatively quick turnaround. I guess they had a little bit more time than usual, but it's the start of the season, and I know firsthand how difficult it is to take all of the raw data from the first few days of feeds and try to condense it into something legible, something easy to understand, because there is so much. There are so many relationships developing, and more importantly, so many things that will end up not mattering. And so if they waste a bunch of time on, the next El Cuatro and, a bunch of relationships that will end up going nowhere, then that's wasted time on their episode. And so I think that's one of the reasons why we don't often get much in the first week on the episodes in terms of all of this relationship building that's happening. And there is a lot of it. There's so much of it that only like 20% of it's going to matter. And so, yeah, I can see why it gets edited this way.
Okay. Kirsten, anything else you want to say before we talk about the weekend's live feeds?
No, I'm ready.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about what happened with the veto and what we can expect in terms of how it impacts the nominations. If you're just joining us for the first time here on Big Brother 22 for Big Brother All-Stars, what we like to do on the episode recap is try to keep it spoiler-free, not tell you anything that's going to come ahead in the episode for the people that just watched the episode. And then we like to play a little jingle for you, which will reveal that we are about to talk about things that have happened past what you saw on the episode tonight. And that's exactly what we're going to do next.
Twinkle, Little Star.
And it's not Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. Yes, this is not the
Maybe
spoiler
someday.
song. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that could be the spoiler song.
It could be.
This summer.
Could be.
Okay. But it's not. It's this.
The Office of Civil Defense has issued the following message. This is
a spoiler.
Warning.
A spoiler.
Warning means that an actual
Spoiler.
against this country has been detected and that protective action should be taken.
All right. Talk about the spoilers. Going to talk about what's going on. Big, veto competition happens every week in the Big Brother house. Happens on Saturdays, and somebody has won the power of veto. And Taran, it's somebody who is not used to winning comps.
Yeah. Sir Enzo has won the power of veto, and he does not plan on using the power of veto. So Keesha and Kevin will likely be the two people up for eviction on Thursday. And right now, it's not looking great for Keesha.
Okay, Kirsten, your reaction.
Well, okay, so Keesha, Kevin on the block week 1. It's not a great scenario for like me personally, emotionally. But if I had to choose one to stay, it would be Kevin. So I guess that's good.
Okay.
I don't know. But also, I heard word on the street is that this veto competition was unfair. There is a petition for them to replay the veto.
Yes. Good. All right. I love hearing about the petitions because this is very effective in getting things changed for Big Brother. So tell me, where do I go to see the petition?
I mean, I'm assuming it's on change.org. Apparently in this veto, Enzo's pieces fell over. They knocked over all of Keesha's. It just simply wasn't okay. And,
are you joking, or there's really a petition?
Oh, there's really a petition, but I'm not endorsing people to sign it.
Okay, yeah. Somebody send me a link to the petition on Twitter. I wanna see the petition. Okay, Matt, are you one of the people that's up in arms about the controversy?
Yeah, look. There's a lot going on between the first episode and just like the differences, the gender imbalance between the two different things that wasted a lot of our time, and then just everything else. There's a lot going on in Big Brother production, and I wish they were a little bit more careful about the decisions they make. But I'm going to try to enjoy it this summer. I want to have a pleasant summer. There's been a lot going on this year. So
yeah. Look, we're happy. No matter what happens, we're happy to have the season, and that is a blessing. No matter what.
Yes, we'll take it.
Rob, I just DM'd you the petition.
Oh, great! I appreciate that. Okay, so let me see if I can bring that up to take a look at that as we're talking here. Now, Taran, if you were going to handicap this, the possibility for Keesha to stay, would you give her 10% at this point?
I would probably.
Is it that bleak?
I'd probably be like 15% to potentially 20%. It's not particularly likely, but it's still very early. There's a lot of time left until Thursday. And the house is still very, not very, but still pretty fluid. So I think there's still, it's not like somewhere around 20% chance that things could shift a little bit. But as of right now, it would be pretty tough.
Okay. All right. So I have the petition here from Kirsten. So we have a petition here from change.org. Redo the BB22 POV competition in fairness to Keesha Smith. Okay. It reads, CBS is currently airing Big Brother 22, which happens to be an all-star season. So far, this is like the opening scroll to Star Wars that's coming up. So far, Cody Calafiore nominated Keesha Smith and Kevin Campbell for eviction. In this game, I like that they explain the rules of the game in case somebody's just like, what's this petition?
This is very official.
Yes. In this game, one of the nominated players is at risk of being eliminated and losing the $500K. Their chance of safety is a POV competition where they can win and save themselves. Who is Keesha Smith, you ask?
Oh, God.
Keesha Smith is
Did
a player.
David write this?
From Cody?
Yeah.
For Big Brother 10, who has been wanting to come back for over 12 years. She's been nominated for not breaking the rules and pre-gaming with other players while others okay. So she did not violate the pre-gaming rules. On the Big Brother 22 live feeds, Danny Briones mentioned how during the latest POV competition, Enzo Palumbo's stack had dropped and knocked down Keesha Smith's with it. This is extremely unfair, as her loss in the challenge had nothing to do with her in a challenge where sabotage is not allowed. We need to get Allison Grodner and CBS to redo this challenge in fairness to Keesha Smith, who has been wanting for years to return to the game and hopes to use the money to start an animal sanctuary. Don't you care about the animals, people? Please sign the petition to let CBS know we want justice for Keesha Smith. She deserves better than to lose $500K due to pre-gaming and rules being violated during a POV competition. Spread the word. Does that change.org? 1,869 people have signed this petition.
I'm in tears. I mean, we need to. Something needs to be done. We need to stand up for what's right.
Taran, will you go live? Should we get word tomorrow over the loudspeaker in the house? Like, all right, guys, we need to redo the power veto competition. Apparently there's a petition going around, and it's up to 2,000 signatures. We can't have that many people in the fan base upset.
I mean, do we need to
Brother.
convince anyone other than Nicole Franzel? We just need to let her know. She'll go to production. She'll sort it all out for us.
Yes, Matt, instead of petitioning on change.org, should people petition to Nicole Franzel?
Yes, Nicole she'll take care of it. Maybe Keesha's going to Nicole already. See, we don't know. Keesha's probably talking to Nicole. Nicole's talking to production. She might be sorting this all out for us. Again, Nicole, I think she really does want us to stand her this season. So maybe this is her chance. Nicole, if you're out there, if you're listening, this is your chance to turn things around. This is your chance.
Somebody play that over a loudspeaker into the Big Brother house tomorrow. Where's Toombs?
Yeah, somebody go to the house with a bullhorn to go and pass the message along. Bullhorn.
If you mess with the bull
horn,
you always get the horns.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. If you mess with the bull, you get the horn. That's where it comes from. Okay. All right. Taran, this petition also touched on pre-gaming. Keesha was not pre-gaming. That's what put her at this disadvantage. You buying that?
Yes, that is, to the best of my knowledge, true. There are a small amount of people in this house that did not pregame. Keesha is one of them because she was such a late addition to the cast, supposedly. One of the others is Nicole Anthony, who really did just abide by the rules. But let's be very, 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 very clear here. Everybody else did pregame. Everybody, all of them. And lots of the other alumni that are not playing the game, lots of them also were involved. Lots of them, not just a select few. Like, take the Big Brother alumni community, anybody that's still involved in Big Brother, and some of the people that are not still involved in Big Brother, they were probably involved in the pre-gaming. That's what happened.
Yeah. Matt, Is this unfair to Keesha? Do you think that she could have ultimately reversed the tide here of not pre-gaming?
Honestly, I'm not even that hung up on the pre-gaming thing. I think that's to be expected in a season of All-Stars. I'm just more upset with the meow meow knocking off Keesha's block, which is kind of what I'm hung up on. And then there's the animal sanctuary, and there's just a lot happening that I can't keep up with right now, and I need to sit with it for a while.
Yes, do it. We have to wait to see how exactly how Enzo's blocks fell down. But Kirsten, I don't think that the pre-gaming is actually a big deal here, because it wasn't like people were pre-gaming against Keesha.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like everything that we've seen has shown that they had their phones for so long, like they could have all been talking, and it could have been like everyone pre-gaming. It's not like everyone came in saying, okay, Keisha's the first boot and that's what's happening. It was more complicated than that.
Yeah, I think if it was everybody was targeting Keesha and then she ends up on the block in week one, I feel like that's a little bit more, okay, that's not fair. But it's just like that, okay, well, people didn't know she was going to be on the season. I guess it's not like too dissimilar from like what happened with like Candace Cody in Survivor Blood versus Water, where they were alternates and they came in at the last minute. And Taran, it is pretty widely believed, right, that Keesha was called in very last minute.
Yes, as the replacement for Casey. Man, if you guys are against pre-gaming, be glad that Casey and Josh did not end up on the season, because that would have been a big group that would have been locked in.
Let's go.
To start.
Yeah, I think it was a tweet from Brian Scally of, I'll take 1 week of Keesha to avoid a whole season of Casey.
Come on. Come on. Casey is great.
Yes, but I'm with
but
you,
it's
though,
just
Rob.
like the dynamic would have been very stale. That it's not really against her as a person. It's against the dynamic that would have been created.
Yeah, and like you said, like Keesha was not targeted strictly because of pre-gaming. Danny is somebody that Cody did not pregame with. Cody was skeptical of Danny. He was worried about her. He said she's smart, she's sneaky. He was talking about even potentially like, should I target Danny? And what Danny did is she talked to Cody a lot, and she was willing to talk game with him and propose that they work together and form a group. And now she is basically his closest ally. That's a pretty stark difference than we have with Keesha, who did talk to Cody, but was afraid to talk too much game, as a lot of people were afraid to talk too much game. And because of that, Cody was left just kind of like, I don't know. Cody is working with the people who are willing to approach him about game. And that's the number one thing. The number two thing is like, maybe I had one conversation with them prior to entering, which can sub for a quick conversation an hour into the feeds. So the pre-gaming stuff is way overblown. I think people should look at where the majority of the rumors are coming from, and analyze appropriately, and just recognize that, again, like there's not a whole lot that you can do to pregame a 90-day game where things are already way different than they were in the pregame. Even when they came into the house, things were way different because, Casey and Josh weren't there. So that people are really losing their minds, and it's a little much.
Matt, I love it so
Big
much.
Brother fans losing their minds?
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, I think it's interesting. Regardless of pre-gaming, there are always going to be the relationships that exist. And so, things are going to go one way or the other. I think pre-gaming definitely strengthened fortified some people's work. But I don't know if Keesha had a strong chance coming into this one, just because of how far back her season is and just sort of where she's positioned in comparison to everyone else in this community of all-stars.
Yeah. To me, Keesha has been like the Danny Boatwright of this season, where it's like people are excited to see her. She's old school. Hey, it's great. We never thought we'd see her back again. But now she's kind of come in and has not really been able to, figure out a way to fit in with this new group. It might be one of the early people that are out, but let's be, that a lot of great people still here. And it's only Sunday. Okay. Yes, Kirsten.
I just received breaking news that there's actually a second Big Brother 22 Change.org petition.
Okay, all right. We have
I sent it to you.
Breaking news are happening now.
A second petition.
So this petition is.
Where'd you send it, on DM?
I sent it. I DM'd it to you. This one is to get Ian Terry a rocking chair, so when the backyard is closed, he has somewhere to self-soothe. And I actually feel like they should do this for him.
Okay. This one, I'll give you real quick. I don't have to put it up on the screen. Get Ian a rocking chair. Okay. Now, I know Ian was a fan of the hammock. And so this one I think is a little bit more serious. Taran, has Ian requested a rocking chair?
I don't think he has, which is kind of why, I think maybe the heart is in the right place here. But I don't know if if Ian requested it, that's one thing. But I don't know how much Ian would love this petition.
Yeah. Okay. They said on his previous season, he explained that the only thing that calms him down is rocking back and forth. But he got a lot of hate for using the hammock due to the squeaking sound. Can't they just have a not squeaky hammock in the backyard?
They do.
Yeah, you would think that wouldn't be that hard.
They just got the backyard during the episode, and Ian did get on the hammock, and he was going back and forth a little bit. Didn't hear any squeaking. He did
Incredible.
say he wants to avoid rocking back and forth though, if he can, because of how big a deal people made it in his first season, and that like he didn't love that. So he wanted to try and limit the amount of time that he did it. And other people were like, oh no, just do it. Like we don't care. But he was like, I still just like I don't want it to be a thing. So
yeah. Matt, if Ian wants to sit in a rocking chair or a hammock, just let the man rock.
Yeah, let him rock. Yeah, let him rock. Hopefully the safety suite will go from EDM to some classic, whatever Ian wants. Ian can have what he wants. I love Ian so much.
We love Ian. Okay. All right. Let's bring some questions in from the listeners and see what they have to say about everything that's going on. Let's take a question from the great Noah Markowitz says, thanks so much for bringing the countdown bop back to the shows. I felt like a lost hot potato without it. Yes. Noah had called in on our Facebook Friday show on in the patron group and had asked, hey, how come you don't do the countdown song anymore? I said, you know what? I'll figure out a way to bring it back, and we got it back tonight. Just because I think that what Noah was saying was that sometimes like the stream starts and like, you miss the first couple seconds because you didn't know that it was going to come back on. So at least you hear the music and you know the show's about to start. So there you go. All right. Anthony says, can you guys talk about your first impressions on the diary room this season? Which ones were you glad to see? Okay, Kirsten, who was killing it in the diary room and who might be a little rusty?
Well, I feel like I've already said it today, but Kayser is incredible in the diary room. And I think it's just really interesting to see how the players who have played like over the years are different in the diary room. Like I feel like Nicole Anthony brings such a different energy to the diary room than say Keesha and Janelle would bring to the diary room. It's interesting. I'm wondering like just how different the coaching that they're getting in there is, how different like the questions they're getting are. Like it's just very different. And you can kind of tell like as you get people who've played longer ago to more recently, they bring a very different vibe.
Yeah. Matt, I thought Kayser and Janelle were the diary room stars tonight.
Oh yeah, and we got so much time with them too. But Kayser is so intense, and I felt it. I was a little bit intimidated. I was stuck between loving everything about him and also feeling like that if I met him and he didn't like me, I'd be screwed. So it was nice to hear them, and it was kind of comforting.
Why would you be screwed?
Yeah, I don't know. He has a lot going on there, and there was a lot of energy, intense. I really hope so.
Yeah,
I feel like we got Kayser in the diary room, but the version of Kayser that is his third take after more energy. Kayser, we need a little more because like thinking back to Kayser in the diary room, Big Brother 6, Big Brother 7, it is very like. It's great to be back. I'm so happy to be here. It's going to be a good season. And the Kayser we're getting right now it is so good to be back. It's like,
so are you saying he's better now?
I'm saying that I think they artificially cranked up the intensity on Kayser, and it's
give us one more Kayser, but with feeling this time.
And so it's like we're still getting Kayser, which I think is better than a fresh person coming into the diary room who's like just willing to do anything that they want. But it is like a little bit less genuine Kayser, I think.
Okay. All right, let's go to another question. This one is from Mindy. What do you think the odds are of getting a strong all-female alliance this season? All right, Taran, is that in the cards right now?
No.
Okay. All right. Kirsten, can we manifest it?
I think that we can manifest groups of women working together, but if what people are envisioning as an all-women's alliance is all of the women, then that's crazy.
No. That's
I mean, if you count Day and Bay working together as women, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
Depends on what your threshold is.
Just start there.
Need to be involved.
Start with 2, then add more.
I don't think they'll betray each other, so that's 2.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Let's see the question from Ryan. Can you clear something up for me? Cody said he didn't know who Keesha was. Didn't see her season, but he knows who Memphis is because they played similar games. So did Cody watch season 10 or no? I think we might need a detective to solve this mystery. Well, I don't think that we need Detective Kowalski to help crack the case here on this one. Matt, do you have any theories of how is that possible that Cody could know about Memphis's game but not know who Keesha is?
You know what? I don't know. Keesha looks mostly the same to me. I don't know what's going on there, but maybe he was talking to Dan. Maybe there were some pictures floating around. He definitely didn't watch the season. Maybe he's not good at telling blondes apart from each other. So that's
a thing. Else. People have trouble with that.
Yeah, I mean, actually, to be fair, Cody has had a hard time telling people apart. So
So I think there's basically two options here. I think that Memphis was contacted 3 weeks ago. So like very shortly before they all went into quarantine. But his name was leaked, I think, as soon as he was contacted. So his name was brought up very shortly before quarantine happened, which does mean that there would have been time for Cody to either look Memphis up or, call someone up and be like, what's this guy all about? That absolutely could have been where he got that information. It could have also gone a step further and perhaps introductions were made and they were able to introduce themselves to each other. But again, like that kind of pregame, like that's going to be the extent of it. Like there was not time to do much more than that.
Sign that Keesha petition tonight.
Well, and I feel like it's definitely a thing that Cody has heard a lot of comparisons to Memphis over the years, right? So it's at least like, that's a pretty notable name that if you've heard it before, you'll kind of remember that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
And just to be very clear about this, Janelle was the biggest pre-gamer of everyone in that house by a mile. She's relatively open about it. I think she speaks in code when she's talking about it. But Janelle is somebody that contacted a lot of people, a lot throughout, much more than just like a couple days before quarantine. And we're seeing the results of that, right? So before you get too worked up about all of this,
they were just looking at her Instagram story. It was totally innocent.
Yeah.
Not that there's any survivor impending at any point, but to be involved with an all-star survivor season, I do think that the pre-gaming would be the most annoying part of it's like your phone rings, it's text from this person. Now it's like 20 people. It's like, oh, come on, just leave me alone. I don't want to do this. I'll do this, and then I'm Keesha. Sign my petition.
Yes.
Okay.
Pre-gaming happens in every returning
season. It's very annoying.
All the time, on Survivor, all the time. Dr. Will and Mike Boogie. Dr. Will is literally the Nicole Franzel of the original All-Stars. He called production and whined to them that he wouldn't be on the season unless Boogie was on there with him. So they kicked out a woman so that Boogie could play. Then he pre-gamed with everyone on the season. That's how they did so well on All-Stars, guys.
I think that the story is they went to CBS and they had their interviews, and then they looked at the sign-in sheet, and then they contacted everybody that was on the sign-in sheet ahead of them.
Yeah. So before we raise our pitchforks, let's remember our history.
Okay. Let's take some more questions here. Let's try this one. This is from Fab Getting Fit. Will we start to see the Big Brother evolution of voting blocks because nobody will commit to a solid, large alliance? I don't know if we're there. It's only day 4. Taran, do you feel like that we've seen some sort of shift in the game this season?
I don't think so. I mean, I think that we will probably see a more fluid house than we're used to because the players on the outs are people that are going to be able to recognize that they need to do something. And there are a little bit of like these intermingling relationships that exist that aren't all going to be included in the same exact place. So I do think that I don't think it'll necessarily be like an evolution of the game, but I think we're going to see that the dominant strategy of the game is creating a big alliance, and it works very well when you're playing against people who aren't able to counter it, but we're going to see people have a little bit more difficult of a time trying to make that happen with so many good players in the house.
What about trust clusters?
I don't think there's any trust in that house.
Yeah. Yeah, it is going to be something that we'll watch going on in the season. I know it's early, but it does feel like that this is a house that is pretty tight in terms of like a lot of people that could, sway one way or the other. So we'll see if it ends up being a season with like two very divided sides of the house. All right, let's take another question from Matt. Who says, do we think that Big Brother will do something similar to Survivor Winners at War and explain some of the outside house groupings? Interesting. Matt, do you think that we'll see in the diary room some sort of like convoluted, like, oh, well, I know this person from here and this person from here, but I know that these other people are friends?
You know what? Survivor did a beautiful job with that, with the poker alliance. But
yeah.
Big Brother,
will we see footage of Nicole Anthony's podcast in this season?
Look, I would hope so. I don't have that much faith. I know a lot of the other RHAP listeners don't have that much faith that Big Brother will show all of this and get into the pre-gaming. But again, if they're listening, we would hope.
Yeah. It's and even at Winners at War, like that was like a very sort of like this is the token pregame alliance that we have footage for, but like there were plenty of other pregame alliances on that season that had more impact than the poker alliance, which was barely a thing in the first place, that they did not do any coverage for. I don't think Big Brother is going to do anything with this.
They had the video for Poker Alliance.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's take another question. This one is from Justice, not Loyal, Justice. Should Nicole Franzel have played in the safety competition to make it seem like she and Cody aren't close? I don't know. No. Kirsten, that seems a little cute, right?
No, I just like it's cute to try and be like, okay, yeah, no, we're not that close, but to go in now and use it when maybe she could genuinely need it one of the next 2 weeks, I feel like she would be kicking herself in the butt if she did that.
Okay. Not kicking herself in the head like Ian.
I think it also would look super sketchy. Like nobody would buy it. And so it would just make her look like a schemer to do something that blatantly, people would see right through it. So she'd be wasting her safety thing and she'd look even sketchier than before.
Okay. All right. Let's do one more question. Taran's got to get up and do the live feeds in 9 hours or so. All right. Let's do one more question. Here is one more from Chandler. During Winners at War, it was discussed that the Michelles and Adams of the world would have a harder time winning due to not having kids like the majority of the cast. Could this hold true for Big Brother 22? Could people like Nicole and David, who are younger and don't have kids or spouses? I guess this is an interesting question to posit for a second about the differences between the ways that a Big Brother jury and a Survivor jury make these types of decisions. Matt, do you have any thoughts on this? Do you feel like that the Big Brother jury, and I'm trying to think of that if we have too many examples of a time where there's somebody who is like a grown-up who has a family versus somebody who's a younger person who's just starting off in life. I feel like that Derek and Cody were that dynamic, but I don't think it comes up too many times.
Yeah, I was going to say, in Survivor, we get a lot of the families and a lot of the backgrounds and the heartfelt stories, and I think that a lot of the players have respect for those stories and that family that you have to support back home. But in Big Brother, I don't feel like we've really seen that as much. Maybe it's a factor, but I think by the time we get to the end that there are going to be so many other dynamics that I can't see it playing that much of a part between voting for one person versus another person.
Taran, has this come up at all in any of the seasons when we're talking about like how the jury is voting a certain way? Does it sort of like does need or this person has kids weigh in?
Not typically. Honestly, the biggest example I can think of is Marissa on Big Brother Celebrity, where that was a bit of a factor. But like notably, that was a lot more similar to a Survivor season than a Big Brother season in that it was a lot shorter. And I think that is part of it. I think Big Brother, it's a 90+ day game, and they are much more warped into this reality for a much longer period of time. There's also like the people that play this game are, I feel like, much more involved in the community of Big Brother, in the like psychology of Big Brother. And they're all gamers, and they all like want to, either respect the game or respect their own egos. And I feel like this idea of like being a family person and, getting $1 million versus 500,000 is just not as much of a factor historically in Big Brother.
Also, Kirsten, I feel like that in an average Big Brother cast, there's like 2 people that are parents per season, as opposed to a Survivor cast, which I think tends to have more people that have parents. I mean, if you like, I'm trying to think. Last season, how many people in the cast? Cliff,
Jessica has kids, right?
I think so.
She.
I mean, so
I was thinking RHAP for the longest time.
And I mean, she also does. But, one the other thing too that I was thinking is in Survivor, you do get at one point the family visit where you kind of can get your head out of it and remember that you have connections outside of the game, whereas they don't really do that too much on Big Brother.
Okay. All right. Let's talk a little bit about what else is going on here on RHAP. Got a lot of stuff happening. Okay. So the new 90-day fiance RHAPup, hosted by Puya Zamakili, is up. Episode number 2 or week 2 of the 90-day fiance is available. Check that out. Talking about happily ever after and the other way. Canada's Drag Race, episode 6 recap is up. Check out Liana and Beth this week. Amon had the week off talking about Canada's Drag Race. Talking with T-Bird, Randy Bailey joined me. A bittersweet combo of the sweetness of T-Bird and the tart Randy Bailey combined together for talking with T-Bird. You won't soon forget. Check that out up on robhasawebsite.com. And Kirsten MacInnis, do you want to give the tease for the return of game night, Kirsten?
So Game Night 2 had a lot of what you loved from the original Game Night and some new surprises. And you got to listen to it if you want to know what they are.
Okay. Check that out. Game Night 2. We took on, it was Rob and Akiva versus Liana and Puya versus Brian and Allie. Check that out over on Rob and Akiva the podcast.
Had chaotic energy.
A lot of chaotic energy. It's a wild show. Tough as nails. We were recapping that as well. Matt, have you watched Tough as Nails?
I caught some of it the other day. There's a lot going on there. I do appreciate the people on the show though for their hard work and commitment to being tough.
Hard-working people. Yeah. Phil Kogan will be back again with us this week on our Tough as Nails recap. Be sure to check that out. And then what do we have coming up here? Then this is going to be the B&B, Big Brother All-Stars B&B. Scott, when is that? Is that already up? The Big Brother B&B All-Stars? Not sure if they did that.
It might be.
Yeah,
I think it's for I think they're doing it next week.
Next weekend. Be on the lookout for that. Next weekend. I think
and one will go up this week. This week as well.
Okay, so be on the lookout. That's Mike and Liana are doing summer B&B, and then Taran will be back in the morning. Check that out at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. And then I got a new show coming up on Mondays that I'm going to be doing a show. Sort of this is the show that's in the feeling is imagine Summer of Stein with Eric once in a while. That's the idea. It's the feeling of this. We're calling this show the Slop. It's the stupid leftover podcast that we are going to talk about all of the nonsense from the week. I'm going to be live on Mondays at 5 Eastern, 2 Pacific for that. And then we have a guest who's going to be calling in tomorrow. We're going to talk to Kat Dunn tomorrow on the first episode of The Slop on Monday. Jenny Autumn will also join me on the show, and the WWE's Ryan Popola, and we'll take a bunch of calls as well on The Slop on Monday.
I love how you say slop.
Slop. It might make you sick. It's the stuff that nobody wants. It's on Mondays
Are you
live.
going to do your radio voice
for The Slop?
At least for the promo.
We'll see. We'll check it out. And then, of course, you know where to find Taran every day, Tuesday. And then, the LFC Roundtable is going to be back. Now, Taran did a roundtable on Saturday night. People said, hey, where's Brent and Melissa? It's like, well, they're on the Tuesday roundtable when you do the stock watch. Boom.
Yes.
Okay.
Brent and Melissa, they can't do weekends. That's they're not available. They are Tuesdaysers. And
2 daysers. That's what you should call it.
Yeah. But we will be doing the stock watch and talking about everything else that's been going on the live feeds. Should be a lot of fun. Very much looking forward to it.
Okay. All right. That's going to be Tuesday. And then, yes, Wednesday, there will be a live feed update also as well. And then on Wednesday night, we'll be back after the episode. Be sure to check that out. We'll be live. I believe that, Taran, do we know the time slot for Big Brother?
Wednesday, I think, is 8, right?
Is it 8? I guess when Tough as Nails is going to be on. Of course, all of this is made possible by the patrons of Rob Has a Podcast. Head on over to robhasawebsite.com/patron to get access to our patron-only community, our patron-only podcast feed, and much more, all at robhasawebsite.com/patron. And of course, if you want to support the podcast in some way and aren't able to become a patron right now, head on over to ratethispodcast.com/RHAP and leave us a feedback rating on the show. Okay? How about that? All right. Thanks so much, Scott, behind the scenes, putting this all together. All right. Matt, this was so fun to get to podcast with you here tonight.
Yeah, no, it was an honor. I'm starstruck, a lot like Nicole Anthony this episode, by all of you. So thanks for having me.
Okay. Matt, where could people keep up with you on social media?
You could find me across social media, Matt Scott GW. Find me on Twitter. I'm
Matt Scott GW.
GW, the letters GW.
Yes. What does the GW stand for?
George Washington University. Proud here in Washington, D.C. So, of course, almost 8 years after I graduated, still repping them, and also don't want to change my Twitter handle at this point.
Okay. At Matt Scott GW. Matt, it was really fun to have you on with us tonight.
Thank you.
Okay. And of course, the great Kirsten MacInnis. Kirsten, I know you have so much going on these days.
Yeah, so you can follow me on all social media at Kirsten Said What, twitch.tv/Kirsten Said What. I did obviously RHAP today with Rob and Akiva. I did a BB22 cast assessment over on the Bitter Jurors pod, which was very fun this weekend. And Kowski Cast with fellow live feed updater Mary Kwiatkowski has started releasing Riverdale Season 2 back coverage. So that's something fun to look forward to. And we're just a few weeks away from Love Island.
Okay, yeah, we're very excited. Love Island is coming back. So what are the details on the return of Love Island?
So it starts August 24th, I think is the Monday. Yes, August 24th. It's going to be 5 days a week plus a recap show. And myself and Brian Scally will be back recapping it for everyone.
Okay. All right. Be on the lookout for that in a couple of weeks. And be sure to check out Game Night 2 and Taran Armstrong, that he is the busiest man in Big Brother. Taran had a milestone last week. Taran recently celebrated his 10,000th Twitch follower. Taran, congratulations.
Thank you. Yes. You can find me there, twitch.tv/Taran Armstrong. I will be going live streaming during some live feed moments to hang out and analyze it live, and plenty of other fun stuff.
Okay. All right. Taran, get a good night's rest. We'll see you in the morning for the live feed update. Very excited about that. Of course, I'll be live again Monday, 5 p.m. Eastern. I'm very excited for the slop. Hope you can join us there. And then also check out Rob and Akiva and much more. Also, I'm very excited. I recorded over the weekend the Myers-Briggs profiles of Survivor. I'm excited to talk about that on the podcast as well with Lindsay Resco coming up this week. Take care, everybody. Have a good one.